cancer diagnosis is not a death sentence anymore. I had a tumor growing at an 80% rate, I was told. I was going to do whatever I could to fight and survive. When I first got the diagnosis, one thing that the doctors tell you to do is stay off of Google. It is a grim search engine. Well, what do I bring? If I can't Google, how do I know what to actually bring to chemo? Doctors, if you're watching this, I just think people don't know until you go through chemo how horrible. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna lose my hair, my eyebrows, I'm gonna be vomiting everywhere, I'm gonna be sickly, I'm gonna lose a ton of weight, and just horrible, horrible things. Please follow that recommendation, because if you can get some of that out of your body, it will just help you recover a lot faster. I hope my sitting here gives you hope that you were not given a death sentence. And my journey is filled with miracle after miracle of God flinging open doors that felt impossible at the time. And so I would tell you, among all of this stuff, the greatest thing I brought with me was my God. Life is really precious. It's really short. It changes just like that. One call changed our whole lives. This was my chemo haul every week for 16 weeks. And then every 2 weeks, I did 4 weeks total of that. But for basically 6 months, this was the packing list to get through chemo treatment.
Yeah.
And we've been wanting to make this video for a long time, because when I first got the diagnosis, one thing that the doctors tell you to do is stay off of Google. And Google is a great resource, but with a triple negative diagnosis as a Black female, it is a grim search engine. And I listened to that. I typically don't listen to medical advice, but I did this one, and I'm so grateful I did, because when I try to look at, well, what do I bring? If I can't Google, how do I know what to actually bring to chemo? Because the doctors don't really tell you. And thankfully, I did have so many women who I reached out to through friends or through the internet, who were able to give me what I feel is the ultimate chemo packing list. And you might be looking at this and thinking it's a little bit overkill. But when I did go on Pinterest, it would lead me to someone's story. And then that story would have details that I felt were terrifying. And so it made me grateful that I didn't Google my diagnosis. But also it makes me feel like we need to make this video so that there can be one spot where people can go, especially women with breast cancer, and they can just see what's the all-inclusive list that you need to survive a chemo session.
And this is it. This is a lot of stuff too. Like, even as I look at all the stuff, I'm just like, oh my word. I remember carrying it every week.
Yes.
I didn't
Eric did.
necessarily know the whole scope of all that I was carrying.
Yes.
Because there's a lot.
There's so much. And I used a different water bottle during chemo. I sadly left it in Florida, but it was a water bottle my friend gave me, and it was the best. And but I basically only carried a water bottle and a cell phone every week. And then Eric took care of everything else. But
that's where we can start is with the key to getting all this in here was we actually bought, this was a suitcase that we only use for chemo and an igloo that we only use for chemo.
Yes. So you see this suitcase. It's sky blue. I don't know if it's a little hard to see with the light reflecting, but it is sky blue. Sky blue is my favorite color. It gives me a lot of hope. And so when we went to go look for a suitcase, there was one sky blue suitcase left. And I was like, this is what we're going to use.
There it is. There it is in all its glory.
And I needed to have something that was big because some of the other recommendations included having a heated blanket. So I want to show you guys. This was the heated blanket. And I think we're going to try to link a lot of this stuff below. But we use this. We would plug this in before every single treatment because the
hospitals are cold, man.
Get very
They're
cold.
very cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're a significant other or a family member going to chemo sessions with someone you love, please dress warmly. Eric had to learn that the hard way. He would come in shorts and end up very cold. Never took my blankets, even though I had two of them. He would just suffer through. But the heated blanket was truly such a godsend. And I'll share a little bit about why, specifically beyond the hospital being cold. I'm going to throw this over here. We're going to be a little disorganized, you guys, but it also just, I think, adds to the enormity that patients battling cancer go through. Life, it just throws so much at you and you're trying to handle it and juggle it as best as you can. But one of the other things we brought was a blanket every single time. I would switch out my blankets because people would make them for me and buy them for me. And so it's kind of like that week I was taking that friend with me to chemo, made me feel super loved and seen. This is one of the homemade blankets that we received from a former student turned friend. And I just one day was in the middle of chemo because I would have the heated blanket on and then I'd put this on top and I was tired. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And it's like in that moment of just we've been here for I don't even know how many weeks now. I have no hair. I don't even know. I'm exhausted. I remember this blanket, Eric had laid it on me and it had fallen on the floor. And he was getting something out of the cooler, which we'll get into. And when I went to pick it up, I noticed these two pictures inside. And I don't know. It's okay.
There's a picture of our babies, and then it's a Bible verse. You want to say what it is?
You can. They can't hear you. What is the Bible verse? I don't
Fear
actually.
not, for I am with you.
Okay.
Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you.
So there's a picture and there's a Bible verse in there of our children. And you guys, I didn't even know I had actually been using that blanket for a couple of weeks. And I didn't even know that those pictures were in there and the Bible verse was in there. And when I went to go pick it up, I was like, what is this? I thought it just was something from the floor. And when I saw my babies and when I saw that verse, like, it's still one of the most precious things ever. I was like, this is why I'm doing this. This is my why. They are my reason. And I'm going to get through this. And so if you're thinking about making a blanket for someone in chemo, this idea is beautifully brilliant. And so I just wanted to touch on that. I'm just going to wrap this around me. But also, let's talk about how I dressed for chemo. I made sure to always have a baggy-ish hoodie. One of my favorites was a gift from a friend too. It has these little thumb sleeves, which I just, can the camera see me? Yeah, these little thumb sleeves, which I just love. It was super comfortable. Also, it can be used also for when you have a mastectomy or when you get your drains. And so it has these little pockets, multi-purpose. So I love this thing. I still wear it because it's also super stylish and beautiful. But I also would I stopped wearing bras. I thought if you're going to just take my breast off because of my diagnosis, they Go ahead.
Yeah, keep going.
Because of my diagnosis, they recommended both of my breasts to be removed. So at that point, I was like, well, if they're going to be taken off, then I'm just not going to even wear a bra. But if you do wear a bra, choose something comfortable. These ones that zip up in the front can be also used later for reconstruction. So again, think multi-purpose. What I wore were these little camisoles. I got some from Walmart for super cheap, some from Amazon, but I wore them all the time because when you go to chemo, I had a port placed in, and I'm pretty sure it's just standard now. I don't know if you can see my port scar. I don't have my port in anymore. Some people leave theirs in for a very long time, even post-treatment, because of the fear of it coming back, or sometimes some people are in treatment for a lot of years. But before chemo, I would rub this lidocaine on the port area. I would do that like an hour before chemo, and we were going from Elgin to Rush. So basically, when I left,
an hour.
Yeah. So basically, when I left
longer,
the house,
hour and a half.
I would take a good size, like probably this, and I would rub it on the area. The recommendation is also then to take like some saran wrap and place it on top of the port area so that it can even seep in deeper, so that by the time you get to your designation, you are numb in that area, because that's how they access, your port with the needle. And that needle, when it's not numb, it feels like someone literally taking a toothpick and just like jabbing it right into your skin, and it's really uncomfortable. And so definitely make sure you ask for lidocaine. If for some reason you're in between appointments, you've run out, or you get a late prescription, you can also numb with ice on the way to the hospital, and that helps a lot too. But that being said, when I would go to chemo and get the initial lab and they access the port, the saline flush, all of it just tastes so gross. It leaves a horrible taste in the mouth. And so one of the things that was recommended to me was to suck on Jolly Ranchers. And this covered the taste in my mouth instantly and helped with that process so much. They do have some sugar-free ones of these, but have them available. And also it helps when the nurses then go and they're accessing your port and they're putting the chemo in. This helps tremendously. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. So once because you have the clothes on, so you can do this easier. It can hang, the bandages can hang. We'll put some pictures in so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Then I go up to the chemo. We wheel all of our stuff. When chemo starts and the nurses they've accessed the port, I'm covered with the blankets. What we do is we get ready with our cooler. Inside the cooler, we would have a few things. The most important, perhaps, were these ice packs.
The Susie pads?
Yep, yeah. Susie pads. And they go on our hands. And I can show you really quick. Like so. Both hands. And inside of them are ice packs.
Yep.
And then they also go on the feet. It gets very cold. We would pre-freeze these. It gets super cold. So what we would do was I would put on white gloves, which we'll link those too. And then I would put on the Susie pack so that I could stand the cold longer. And what this ultimately does, and doctors didn't tell me this, the internet and these women had to tell me this, what this ultimately does is it protects from neuropathy. And you want to leave these on as long as you can.
And you ended up, it delayed the neuropathy, but can you just explain what that feels like, what that is? Neuropathy
feels like tingling, burning. you're losing sensation in your hand while also feeling a lot of pain and discomfort in your hands. For some people, like for me, eventually, like I wouldn't be able to feel like the tips of my fingers. As treatment progressed, it got to be worse, to where sometimes it was even a struggle to hold some things. I couldn't open things. And so I do definitely think that having these, because one of the biggest things is I still get neuropathy, but it's so mild in comparison to so many people. Like when the weather acts up, or maybe if I don't feel as strong health-wise, then it kind of kicks in. I don't have really any at all in my feet, but I do think the key was these, and I just wish this was like standard care, that this came with every chemo patient treatment, or the knowledge came with, because this neuropathy can be very severe and it can be very debilitating. And I thankfully have had my feeling all return, but some people never get that back. So please, please, please have these with you and use them. And you use them the minute that they will say to you, well, you don't need it during this type of chemo, but have them all the time. Because when they told me I didn't need it during the second stage of chemo, that's when the neuropathy got worse. And when I talked to a friend, she's like, no, have it the whole time. We went back to using these. So please just make sure to use these throughout your entire chemo
and it was
experience.
like we would go out like 15 to 20 minutes on, and then
yes,
10
because it is very
off.
cold.
Yeah,
and
it
so
is
sometimes
cold.
if I was able to fall asleep, Eric would just leave me sleeping through the timer so that they could just keep working. But sometimes I would literally be freezing even with the heated blanket. And so that's why we use the heated blanket too, because it helps combat the coldness. But he would take them off. My mom was also with us for practically all the treatments, right?
For many of them.
And so they would switch, taking them on, taking them off. I made sure to always have on thick socks. I also wore slippers too, so I could go to the bathroom easily, but I always made sure to have super thick and fuzzy socks. So this is a great gift for someone in chemo. And I also want this video to be, I see so many people on Facebook saying, I have a mom, I have a sister, I have a best friend who has a diagnosis. What do I get them? You can literally buy them anything off of this list and they will be able to use it. There were some things that people brought me that I didn't really use, and so that's not so much on this list. But these things, I know they will use.
Week in, week out.
Yes. Okay. Those are the big main things. Also in this cooler, I want to share something interesting. We kept tonic water. This was from a tip from a breast cancer book that it helped. We're trying to focus it. There it is. It helped with bone pain because that is a residual side effect of chemo. And I will say, I noticed that was true, that once I started taking this tonic water, and I would take it right after treatment, like on the way home, the pain in the bone would decrease, because I also had to take shots. My white blood cell count was always low. So I would have to take these Neupogen, I think is what they were called, shots. And those were so painful. They were actually, they felt worse than chemo. They were worse than,
you did. Yeah. Like the first chemo treatment was, you walked away being like, oh, that was not great, but it wasn't debilitating.
Right.
Then the next one, you had to take a Neupogen shot afterward because the first one drove your blood count so low. And that one was the one that threw us because we weren't prepared to minimize the pain caused from these shots.
Right. But we learned with those shots to take Tylenol. And
No. Excedrin.
Take Excedrin. And that was approved by the doctor.
And a McDonald's Coke.
And a McDonald's Coke.
Go figure.
And then, right, I don't know what's in the McDonald's Coke. Couldn't have been worse than the chemo, for sure. Although the jury is probably still out on that. But
depends on you ask.
But I gave up pretty much all sugar. Like literally sugar addict junkie. And the minute I got a diagnosis, I was like, the controversy on what are the effects of sugar on cancer? I didn't have time for controversy. I had a tumor growing at an 80% rate, I was told. I have 4 babies to live for. We have the potential of our nephews getting displaced and coming to live with us. I have a husband. I was going to do whatever I could to fight and survive. And so the McDonald's Coke was like the one thing that I had, and I wouldn't even drink it all. I would just drink enough to take the pill. Is when I was first diagnosed and I met with one of the, what are they called? Oncologists. He said, think about the worst movie you've seen. And my mind goes to A Fault in Our Stars. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And that movie wrecked me. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lose my hair, my eyebrows. I'm going to be vomiting everywhere. I'm going to be sickly. I'm going to lose a ton of weight and just horrible, horrible things. And that wasn't actually the case for me. I never got nauseous. I didn't throw up. And I know for some people that is the case. But just for me personally, I want to just share this because everyone's chemo experience is so different. It's just like no two kids are like, no two human beings are, designed the same. No two zebras, right? Like this is how chemo is. And so you have to make sure that if you're taking that route for treatment, you go in with an open mindset because you may not be so sickly. But one thing that they don't tell you about chemo is that you will be very fatigued. That's pretty universal. Now, some people can fight against that because you still got to work, you still got to show up and all of those things. But I was so tired. I wasn't sickly, but I had a huge lack of energy. I also found the treatment, my sessions were 4 hours. Sometimes they were a little bit shorter because based on what kind of chemo they were giving. I know some people's sessions can be up to 8 hours, up to 10 hours. And so again, your experience is going to be unique to you, to your diagnosis, to what your hospital does for treatment. Anything else you want to say about chemo? I also did lose my hair, but you don't lose hair all with every chemo. So that's specific to my diagnosis. So that's something. The eyebrows were the last to go. I had actually gotten my eyebrows, what do they call it? Micro bladed. Yeah. I actually had done that before 3 weeks before I knew I was going to have this diagnosis. I kept debating, going back and forth. And so that would be one thing I'd say. If you get a diagnosis and you've got time, I would get your eyebrows because that also kept me from looking, I think, more sickly. You could look at me and tell, okay, she's got cancer, but I didn't have the same appearance that I think a lot of chemo patients have because I still had eyebrows throughout the whole process. And then the other piece that I would say too is we still live during chemo. Life didn't stop for us. We still worked. I still spent time with my kids. I took a lot of naps, but we were still pretty active, I would say, right?
Well, we were told to be.
Yes.
They said keep walking, keep moving as much as you were able to. Yes. They said usually right afterward, you would, like the day after and the 2 days after, you'd be sleeping a ton because your body would be recovering from what was put in. But I think you also need to touch on, because the second set of chemo, because you had 2 different sets. The first set was a 12 set, and then the next one was a 4 set.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a few things. You said they said to keep moving. So after every chemo session, I would walk. Before chemo sessions, I would try rebounding to try to get the lymphatic system flowing, or I'd go for a walk just to make sure everything was moving and just so that chemo could just pulse through. I would also make sure I was drinking a lot of water. I don't like water. I just never understand it, but I get the value. But I was making sure, they were saying up to 80 ounces. I don't know how many ounces this thing is.
That's probably like 20.
Yeah. So I basically try to drink 6 of these a day. And that was so that you can get all of that toxin out of your body, pee it all out. And please follow that recommendation, because if you can get some of that out of your body, it will just help you recover a a little bit into chemo was that people felt like they recovered faster or didn't feel as yucky when fasting. I'm not a doctor. This is not a health recommendation. This is what I personally used, and it was helpful to me. I also think fasting helped my body to be able to fight off the tumor, but I would not eat almost 2 days before chemo. And so if I wasn't packing a snack in the cooler, which I usually wasn't, but you could use the cooler for snacks. You can use it for your water bottle. You can use it for the tonic water. You can use it for your cold Susie pads. But I would also fast for 1 day after chemo. So I was almost going 3 days without eating. And some people cannot do that. Some people do it not on purpose because they're just so sick from the chemo. But please do your own research, talk to your own health team. But that was something that helped me tremendously. I also had the tip of someone saying eat with a plastic fork because the metal messes with your taste buds, because that definitely was impacted for a couple of days after chemo, maybe like the first 4, but I wasn't eating one. Your taste would be weird, but I noticed that I didn't really have that too much because maybe it was the plastic fork. I don't know. And then I would sleep a lot. Erica's saying,
No, the second set of chemo was really hard.
Okay. Before we get to the second set of chemo, can I just finish my list really quick?
Yeah.
Something also
I couldn't tell where you were going.
Sorry.
I also can't see what's
something
behind me.
also that I want to talk about is these mouthwashes. They are recommended for people going through chemo because you get dry mouth, and that's really difficult. And also, these are just gentler, and I just was recommended this, and so I wanted to put this out there because sometimes the dentists don't even know, or the oncologists don't necessarily recommend these to you. And also get a soft toothbrush because your gums will be sore, and you want whatever is just going to be gentle on your mouth. With that being said, I don't know where the cap went, but this is the toothpaste. It's a biotin. Again, these are like brother or sister. So this was the toothpaste that I used. Again, gentle on the mouth. Other recommendations, hand sanitizer, because you always want to make sure that you're keeping your hands clean. You touch a lot of things in the hospital, a lot of hand exchanging, a lot of signing of papers. And so make sure that you carry this in your purse. Little Kleenex, runny nose. That's going to be something because you lose the hair.
Nose hairs, yeah.
Guys, you lose hair everywhere. I didn't know this. I've never heard this before chemo. When you see the movies, right, they're bald here, eyebrows are gone, but you lose hair everywhere. Everywhere. Let that sink in.
I think it's sinking.
So when you lose your nose hair, your nose is always running. So please have these. Skin gets very, very dry, or you're always washing your hands. This is a lavender and calum oil. Is that how you say that? Tea lotion that someone gave me. Have this with you. Lip gloss everywhere. Everywhere lip gloss. Have one in the suitcase, one in your bag, one in your pocket, because you just want to make sure that your lips are staying moisturized because they do get very chapped. Some people have severe chapped lips, so just stay on top of that. I did not need these, but a friend gave them to me. They were nausea relief. And why I'm including them is because a lot of people do have significant nausea, and people who do say that these help them. One of the things my team said is that they don't tolerate nausea. If you are nauseous, tell your doctor. One of the things that I think patients are prone to do is say, well, I just thought that was a side effect of chemo, and they kind of suffer through it. Yeah. But you're already suffering enough. Don't not tell your team and just suffer because you think that this is how it's supposed to be.
Because there were a couple times the medication really was a game changer for you.
Yes, and I don't love to take extra medication, but there were times where it would throw my body off. Like during the second half of treatment, they call it's AC, but its name on the street is the Red Devil, and it is the Red Devil. And it was horrible. It was honestly horrible. It was when I wanted to quit the most. And we're going to talk about that in 1 second. But let me just get to the last three things. Have a cell phone, have a charger, because you will most likely need to plug this
Portable
in.
charger.
Yeah, portable charger. We'll link that. We played worship music. That was so helpful. I would literally get everything on, ice packs on, and Eric would turn on worship music. And I get emotional thinking about it because, it just brought a lot of peace. I forgot about these, a friend who made me Bible verses, and she had friends include Bible verses that just like spoke life and God's truth over me. I took these with me every week, and before chemo, I would open up. This one's from Papa G, and it's Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And I just treasure this so much. They recommend that you have a notebook and a pen and keep track of your symptoms. And I started this, but I didn't do very well at keeping it. You can also just have a notebook where you can journal your experience, your thoughts. But if you're tracking your symptoms, you can also just say, hey, this is different. This is a new symptom, and ask your doctor about this. So if you are a more detailed person, definitely have a notebook. And the last thing I want to highlight, because I want to give a shout out, I call them my RAD sisters. I ended up having a genetic mutation, RAD51D. I met these 3 beautiful sisters who also have this genetic mutation, and they are called previvors because they did preemptive mastectomies because of their family history of cancer. And one of the women, her name is Sheila Adams Gardner, and she wrote this. It's called Reverse the Curse. And I didn't get all the way through it, but it's an adult coloring book, and it's filled with these beautiful pictures. You can see them. And then there's sections on like how you, let's see, can you see?
I don't know why it's on me.
It's been doing that a lot.
Just speak up.
There's adult coloring pages, and I didn't get all the way through because I actually slept pretty much all of my treatment. So, but it's also just journaling that you can do. And so this is even how you can maybe track your symptoms. And if you are coloring, there's so many adult coloring books, but I love this one because it had words like survivor on it, or previvor, and I love me, and fearless, and freedom, and girl power, and remember who you are, because it's so easy for chemo to take that from you as you lose your hair and you lose your strength, and you lose, your freedom, and your schedules become filled with doctor's appointments. You are not your diagnosis. And it's important to not forget that. But I think that's like the last of the list, right? That's like the big things.
I can't see. You got so much stuff over
that's
there.
it. But let's talk about the second chemo, the Red Devil. Some people said they changed the name to the Blood of Jesus because they wanted to see chemo as a gift from God. It was horrible. Whatever you want to call it, that's up to you. But it made me so sick. We kind of breezed through the first of chemo, and let me not forget my little neck pillow. Sorry. It helps me breeze through chemo. I would put this on, and I would just lay back. This is how I would look. I would put on the hood to stay warm because I didn't wear wigs. And I didn't wear hats. It was like I'm just bald. For some people, that's really important. It helps them to feel like themselves. And so if that's you, please do that. And I think they have so many programs now and stylists who can make your wig look so much like your hair. Don't go off of Amazon and buy some janky wigs like I did, and that's probably why I didn't wear them. Go to someone, pay the price, have insurance help you cover it. Your hospital could probably help you with that. They do have what's called cold capping, where you can put these caps on your hair and you dry ice these whatever, and it can try to help you save your hair. Hospitals have programs for that too. There's no guarantee that you do save your hair. It adds about 2 hours, I think, onto your treatment process because of the process of putting it on. It's very cold. You can get some frostbite, but hospitals can walk you through all of that. Some women said it was important for them to do because it helped them feel like themselves and human. And so if that's you, do your research. You could probably reach out to women who have done it and get a lot more insight.
It did help that you are a beautiful bald person.
Thank you. People were very gracious to me.
Do you remember what you did? So Erica's a clown, and so she was. Yeah, you're a clown. You know you're a clown. You're clowning with your oldest son, our oldest son.
You guys.
And this was like what? This was this before you got diagnosed, or was this after?
This was after I got diagnosed. We were at the park.
So we're at the park. Our big boy's on a tire swing, and Erica decides to start trying to mess with him, play with him, but like also like be a little bit dangerous. Like she started like really pushing this thing and swinging it, and he got so scared that when she was mid swing, he grabbed onto her, and then Erica ended up getting knocked in the forehead. It's actually gone now, but
it's not gone, but it's less, and I have makeup on.
If we're showing pictures, you'll see 2 marks right there.
I get 2 or 3. I got 3. I'm pretty sure it's 3.
Right on the forehead.
Tire marks. You guys, I have this big phobia of scarring on my face because I was such a tomboy as a kid.
Yeah.
I have scars everywhere. I hate it. So I've always tried to protect my face. And I got tire marks. Honestly, I got knocked down. I was screaming. I was like, Eric!
And then
I thought I was bleeding everywhere.
Our eldest had recently learned about instant karma. So
and you know what? I couldn't even be mad because
we don't believe in karma. We don't. We're like, karma's not a thing. We say you reap what you sow.
I definitely reaped.
She was reaping.
Yeah. So I wasn't loving that because it took away some of, my finesse and my baldness.
It took the photo. Yeah, there was nothing to hide.
I had nothing to hide. So I definitely wore my hoods, and I would sometimes do this. And I would have this on, and it just let me sleep and turn. And so this was really huge. So when the Red Devil started, I had, what do they call it? Severe sore throat. And the name, could you Google that? Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember. It was, but you thought you were sick.
I thought I was sick, you guys. See, this is the thing. People want to kind of go chemo alone. But I reached out. I was literally a psycho stalker. Okay, you couldn't Google, right? Or I couldn't Google, or I didn't Google. And so I started reaching out to, if I found somebody on the internet who was like, I had breast cancer, I messaged that person. And what I would learn is that this is a community that nobody wants to be involved in. But because of how horrific this experience is, it is filled with women and men, but I never reached out to men, but women who just want to help. They don't care if they've never met you before. Every single woman I reached out to responded and offered help and offered wisdom. These women were like, here's my cell phone number, call me. I was FaceTiming strangers. My mom got a little concerned about me, but that's how I did my research. And so don't go this alone. If somebody who walked this with you, even though your journey is going to be unique to you, offers you help or insight, take it. Now, there were times where things were sad that I was like, ooh, that's not the mindset that I'm going to reject that. But that was like maybe 2 times versus like, honestly, there was over 100 women that I probably reached out to and talked to just in getting started in the chemo process. And I still continue to reach out to women who helped me. Strangers, when I'm low, when I'm down, were like, you can do this. You're going to get this. You're going to get through this. A cancer diagnosis is not a death sentence anymore. There's so much research. There's so much advancement. And there's a whole world of women ready to help you join your fight. And it's so beautiful. But one of the things that nobody warned me about is this sore throat. And when I got a sore throat prior, I would pour hot sauce, this specific cayenne pepper, down my throat. And so I thought I was getting sick. And so I was going to
kind of preemptively trying to get rid of this.
Trying to get rid of it. And it was making it worse because what I didn't know was I had a side effect of chemo.
It was just chemo.
And you guys, it felt like I had barbed wire lasers in my throat. I would try to hold my spit for as long as I could so I didn't swallow, or it would spit it out so that I didn't swallow it. I couldn't sleep. When I would fall asleep, because finally I learned that it was from chemo, Eric said I would moan. I had no idea. The doctors ended up having to give me a medicine to calm the anxiety, but also it acted as a sleep aid, and then I was able to sleep. I learned from the internet about, because now at this point, I don't Google the diagnosis, but now I'm Googling the symptoms about this thing called magic mouthwash. I wish I would have brought it. Insurance doesn't like to cover it because it is a concoction that the labs make. And so it's not, they're using their own whatever chemical, insurance doesn't love to cover it, but it's like $20. So if your insurance doesn't want to cover it, just pay it, because it basically would numb my throat long enough so I could eat something or swallow, and you can use it several times throughout the day, and you literally pour it in your mouth and you swish it and you spit it out. And it was magical. It helped so much. The thing about chemo, whether it's the Red Devil or Taxol, was that they basically beat you up, right? And then you get better about midweek. And so your body starts to recover, your energy starts to return. You're like, okay, this isn't so bad. Just in time for you to go back to chemo. Just in time for you to do it again.
Red Devil, because that was moved to every other week.
Yes.
And really, that was the worst I had ever seen you experience. You could only find comfort in sleeping on the couch. You couldn't find comfort sleeping anywhere else. It was the couch.
Yes.
And so when I go to check on you, the lights would be off, and I would just hear, it was as you were sleeping, every time you breathed, it was like a
yes.
And I mean, it was very sad.
Yeah, it was horrible. I don't know what it's called, you guys. I wanted to look up the name. I guess it doesn't really matter. But why I wanted to look up the name was because in chemo, they give you this big binder of like, hey, these might be some symptoms. These might be, but it was a medical word. So the medical word they give you doesn't say horrific sore throat. So I didn't know what I should have been looking for.
We gave some feedback to Rush.
Rush
said you guys should let people know that you're going to have an awful sore throat so that people don't think they're getting sick.
And some people, now their thing is, well, there's such a wide variety of side effects.
Get
it's
everything.
hard to know what people are going to get, but that's a pretty big one. In my research, I learned that is one that you should not just have a medical term for. You should break it down so that people know. People also get horrific mouth sores. The magic mouthwash worked for that too. Thankfully, I did not. I could still eat. And appetite was like, nah, my weight did stay steady. I was eating a lot of healthy things, a lot of anti-inflammation, a pretty alkaline diet because of the research of keeping inflammation down. And so I wish I had known that, because I was suffering, making myself suffer. I also got a really, really bad hemorrhoid, and I'm just going to be completely honest about that, because I had them from pregnancy. They were somehow reactivated, and because chemo can also cause a lot of constipation. And so when I was during the Red Devil treatment, I had this horrific sore throat, had this horrible hemorrhoid. I was basically in Rush's cancer ER every weekend.
We probably went to the ER at least 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
Not just the cancer one. You went to the local one.
Oh yeah, I was everywhere. They would give you medication. I was on what was it called? A synthetic morphine, because the actual morphine would make me vomit. And so they had me on the synthetic one, and it was great. You would get relief, but then when they would send you home, you were just back to being miserable. And so I was always talking with the doctors and message your doctors. My doctors were so responsive. Doctors, if you're watching this, I just think people don't know until you go through chemo how horrible, how like the body can feel or the mind can get. And so people can be dismissive, but you have to listen to the patient. And if you are the patient, you have to tell someone how you're feeling, because my team did not ever let me suffer. I mean, they were right on it. I learned that, okay, you might need medicine to help you with pain. And if it makes you throw up, let's take a nausea med. Even though you're not suffering from nausea, let's take a nausea med before you take the medication to help you with the pain. And that stops you from throwing up. So it was nice to know that you have a team who's going to help you no matter what. And so I think if there's something that I could tell the medical team, it's, if you've never gone through cancer, I get it. You subscribe, medications to patients all the time. You've seen the gamut, but if you haven't lived it, you will never know. And so when your patients come to you with anything, please listen and please respond immediately. Okay. I think what I learned from this experience is I'm stronger than I ever thought I was. Cancer diagnosis was one of my greatest fears, and yet it was one of the most peaceful times of my life. It was also one of the times where I realized how big our village was, how loved we were, how big God is, how much He loves me. I also know that I'm very blessed to be here, that not everyone gets the opportunity that I have to stand before you, sit before you today. Life is really precious. It's really short. It changes just like that. One call changed our whole lives, and it shook it and flipped it upside down. But God, He was gracious and merciful to me. And my journey is filled with miracle after miracle of God flinging open doors that felt impossible at the time. So if you're watching this and you're afraid of what if and will you survive, I honestly don't know how anyone gets through without God. And so I would tell you, among all of this stuff, the greatest thing I brought with me was my God and His truth. There's this passage, Psalm 18:6. In my distress, I called upon the Lord. To my God, I cried for help. From His temple, He heard my voice. My cry to Him reached His ears. Bring God with you. Every treatment, every doctor's appointment. Surround yourself with people who believe that you are going to make this, that you are going to get through this. Because when your faith weans, when you get discouraged, when you're tempted to despair, the people who would say to me, no, you're going to make this. You're going to get through this. I believe God is going to heal you. From this test is coming a testimony. They don't know what that did for me. Like, I get teary-eyed thinking about it because it's like their hope that I was going to live kept giving me hope that I was going to live. And then to my husband. The number of women we saw alone at chemo, actually, I don't know if I ever saw. There's a couple of times that I would see a husband with that's true. There's a couple of times like in the waiting room. I don't know if they were there for chemo, because in the chemo room, we just saw women by themselves. And one of the nurses said that's so common because the spouse or the boyfriend typically leaves because it's too much. Or sometimes you just have a spouse who has to work, right? Like, so they can't be there. Some women just want to go it alone. They don't want to inconvenience someone. I would encourage you to have someone there with you. Even if you don't feel like talking. It was nice. Like, my husband and I, we didn't talk during chemo. I literally slept. He would sleep or listen to something, or just have someone there so you're not alone. It makes the day go faster, but it also is mentally like reminding you that you don't do any of this alone. You never walk alone, and you don't have to walk this alone. There's so many people who offered to come to me, with me to chemo so that Eric could like have a week off. And he said, why? Like, I appreciate it, but you don't get a week off. So I'm not going to take a week off. Don't go it alone. Because when fear starts to creep in, just having someone saying, I know that you're going to get through this. I know you can do this. And I'm right here with you. It makes you mentally engaged. And that's what so many of the women I reached out to said. This is going to become a battle of the mind. And so you have to fight for your mind. Because that's the fight that's going to help you fight for your life. And you have to trust that God means well to you. And I know that's hard in light of a diagnosis that is cancer. Especially if you have little babies that you want to raise. And God and I still have a lot of conversations about the diagnosis. But one of the things someone said to me is, it's okay to ask why. But the better question is, what do you want me to do with this? There are so many women whose diagnosis helped me walk less afraid. And because they journeyed and because they made it, I have hope that I'm going to get to be here for a long time and raise my babies. And so maybe your test is to give someone hope that God's going to bring them through. And I hope me sitting here before you today with hair growing back, eyebrows filling in with the help of some pencil, eyelashes also growing back, very little neuropathy side effects. I hope my sitting here gives you hope that you were not given a death sentence. You're given a second chance to see life in a different way. I don't think I'll ever be one of the women that I talk to who thanks cancer, but I thank God, and I thank my husband, and I thank my children, and I thank our mothers who did so much to help us, and I thank our village, and I thank my doctors. And I don't take for granted a single day that I'm alive. And for what it's worth, you don't have to know me, but I will be one of those women who answers your message, who gives you her number, who lets you know that you never walk this alone. And I'm sorry if you're here because you're now part of this community, or if you're watching because someone you love is going through this. But if you let it, this can be really one of the sweetest chapters in your life, where you see just how loved and how for you God is. Because you are loved, and you matter, and your life matters, and your story is not over.